Welcome back to another video. It's been a couple days, right? Today's going to be my first slide presentation attempt. So we're going to see how this goes in this video. At least I might have tried one like last year, but we'll work with it. The real reason Cuomo is going down, right? Everybody's been seeing it in the news. The reporting is more or less very against Cuomo, even though it was kissing his ass, this entire year, the last several months, until all of a sudden, whoopity boo boo boo, impeachment. Wow, who would have saw that coming? Well, look, here's the thing. There's different political dynasties even within the Democratic Party. Now, it is true that they were united in 2020 to destroy Donald Trump, and they all, they rigged it, they lied in the media, they were being, complete douchebags the entire time. And that was necessary because they needed to take down Donald Trump. So while Cuomo was getting away with murder in New York in July, June, whatever, they covered it up. Why? Well, because they wanted his endorsement. They wanted the money from New York. They didn't want to take any chances on defeating Trump. And lo and behold, every vote did end up mattering in places like Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona. And in fact, when you look at the nuances of this whole thing, I think it's quite interesting here that Kamala is from New York, and you might think, well, they're both from liberal states. Well, no, that's not necessarily the case. There's different factions within the Democratic Party that you must take account for. These people are selfish and bitter to the bone about Trump, but they are also nonetheless very power hungry in their own right. What does that mean? It basically means that these people will do whatever it takes, the means justify their ends of power, to get the presidency ultimately, right? And that includes Kamala, Pelosi, anybody. And the thing here is that ultimately, in comparison, these two neoliberal shills are not too different on policy, let's say, but they're more so different in what position they are in, okay? First of all, Kamala was a senator from California, a prosecutor from California. Her main political base and donor base is going to be from California. Keep that in mind for later. Cuomo is going to be obviously mostly Albany and New York City based, and honestly, these are two separate worlds, okay? Now, East Coast versus West Coast might seem like liberal versus liberal, but you have to dive into it further. So, hold on. First of all, let's get it out of the way. They didn't attack each other before because it was not in their political interest to attack each other. They wanted to beat Trump so that in 2020 they could actually get what they wanted done, like amnesty and so forth. And will they get that done? We'll see. And then we have to look into COVID, right? They used coronavirus as a cudgel to beat the Republicans over in 2020, and it sort of kind of worked, and they needed to stick together. So while they were pointing at DeSantis being a shitty governor and letting people die, they just let Andy Cuomo just get away with it. And people were saying, well, see, there's a lot of people dying in Florida. Well, let's look at the data, all right? Let's look at the data real quick. Bing, bing, bong. All right, look at this. Florida versus New York. Cases, yes. Everybody in the media kept on bitching about cases all year. In 2020, they said case, 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 thousands of people, case, case, case. Well, look at this right here. Florida has about 1.87 million cases, right? And New York has only 1.59 million cases, okay? Here's the difference. Notice, not only is the rate of increase daily in New York higher than Florida, but it is more severe in terms of mortality. So look here. The case rate every day in Florida is about 5,065 cases of corona, whereas in New York it's 6,237. So they're spreading it 20% faster in New York than in Florida. Okay, so that whole case bullshit is 9 because it'll eventually New York will eventually surpass Florida, assuming the pandemic doesn't end for several more months. Now, look at the death rate. And this is the most important thing. People shouldn't be getting sick, but least of all, die, okay? And allegedly, there's been about 29,905 deaths in Florida, whereas New York is 46,346 deaths. So that is about I'd say about 50% more deaths. Is that something like that? 70% more deaths than Florida? So that's a pretty big difference. And in terms of the population of the states, they're pretty close. It's like 20-something million for each, if I remember correctly. So that comparison is gone. Now, in terms of the deaths per day, as you can see, Florida's at 93, whereas New York is at 113. So they're growing at 20% more deaths per day, So... And a lot of people, I was talking to a liberal friend, and they said, well, technically, New York got the corona thing first, therefore they know what to do, and therefore most of the deaths were front loaded and they stopped the deaths eventually. Not the case. As you can see, even about a year into the pandemic, you can see that New York is still 20% faster in growth in terms of the coronavirus, in not only cases but deaths as well. So they're not doing their job apparently. So who's doing better on the virus right now? It's 100% DeSantis by a mile. First of all, in New York, you have very stringent, very strict rules about markets, about going to restaurants, just living, masks, whatever. Okay, very strict sanitation rules in New York. And yet they have 20% higher case increase rate, and they have 20% higher death rate. Now look at Florida. They have 20% less cases per day. They have 20% less deaths per day. And they are on the decreasing slope, whereas Cuomo is having a harder time here. And that's not even getting into the nursing homes, okay? And let's keep in mind that Florida man DeSantis has everything opened by, edict or law or whatever, by executive order, and masks are not even a thing. So not only do we not have a lockdown, they don't even have to wear masks, and yet they're doing much better. They're doing substantially better than New York. Goes to show that the lockdowns are bullshit, first of all. Second of all, and all this criticism from the left. So there you go, hypocrisy. But more important than that, what's going to result? Well, the most important thing, not only did Andrew Cuomo get praise for his job on coronavirus, but did worse. Not only did he do what I'm going to say, but he also got accolades, and they shitted on Florida man in exchange. Now, this is what the controversy is. Andrew Cuomo ostensibly covered up the fact that he underreported the amount of people that died in nursing homes by half. Through technicalities and obfuscation, he was able to lower his death count artificially. Now, that 46,000 is probably more like, let's say, 60,000, for example. Why? Well, because he was able to classify and change the rules in which his health department labeled deaths from coronavirus, so that's a bad thing. Bad on you, Andrew. And because of his artificially lower numbers, he got more praise from the press. That's not fair. And let's keep in mind here. Hold on. This guy got an Emmy, okay? Whereas Florida man got nothing but sanctions and, disavow, he's cringe, he's killing people, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So let's see who's really winning here. And Andrew Cuomo has done an objectively terrible job on coronavirus. And his economy is way worse than Florida's. It's just, he's worse off in every way, honestly. Yet he gets away with it until now. And what's the main difference? Eventually, someone in the Democrat caucus in the state house finally got some balls. This Chinaman, I think he's Korean, this Kim guy, and he says, you know what? You called me, you threatened me to cover up the fact that you killed nursing home patients. What did he do? He basically put nursing home patients with coronavirus people. Okay? And it's even more of a crime because you could say, well, you know what? The hospitals were over capacity. Number one, that's not even the case. And number two, Donald Trump sent the Javits Center, I think it's called, or, this huge medical ship with thousands of beds on it specifically for the East Atlantic. And what the hell does, what the hell does Cuomo do? He doesn't even use it. He doesn't even use the fucking beds on it. And yet he still puts COVID patients with the old people. What the hell, man? Seriously, what the hell was he thinking? He's either a dummy or he's malicious. Pick one. But either way, he's not the saint that the Democratic media portrays him to be. And yet, we have all this criticism from Florida man. And now that somebody within the Democratic establishment is actually speaking up about it, now everybody is collectively throwing him under the bus, as seen as they can no longer cover up for his lies. There's no plausible deniability at this point. He objectively is doing worse than DeSantis. Nobody can argue it in good faith, as well as he is malicious insofar as he probably did want to kill people, and even if he didn't, he has criminal neglect. Not only that, but he also tried to obstruct justice by threatening people to not release information, by not trying to expose him, and is, trying to collectivize the Democrats behind him, so that they won't expose him for the fraud that he is. So He's in all likelihood, let me give him the benefit of the doubt, but he's an incompetent tyrant psychopath, something like that, okay? He's evil, he's an asshole, he's worse than, he's scum, okay? Andrew Cuomo, no defense for him. But let's look at the real reason why everybody is throwing him under the bus, okay? Especially Kamala. So this is the 2024 primary without Joe Biden, okay? Hypothetically. Now this is the 2020 map, but I'm just using it as a reference, okay? Look, here's the deal, Jack. Joe Biden, if he is to serve the 4 years as president, which there's a good shot that he won't be president for 4 years. Let's say he gets sick or something. I don't know. Senile Joe, probably not going to last 4 years. But anyway, the 2024 primary, I don't think he'll run again. Okay, odds like 85% chance he will not run again. And even if he does run, will he be the nominee? Probably not. Look, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to run for president. Sanders probably not. Warren probably not. Bloomberg probably not. You could see Buttigieg try again. You can see Klobuchar. You can see Kamala, Gavin Newsom, Krista Sinema, plenty. Beto. Beta. Anyway, there's plenty of people that could run for president. And one thing you don't want in a primary probably is to deal with too many other opponents. So if you can very easily stab one guy in the back of your own party so that they can't run in 24 because of political capital being gone, that would be the right thing to do if you're a Machiavellian, just like Kamala's proven to be. And guess what? It's in Kamala's best interest to have Cuomo go down so that she doesn't face opposition from New York, or at least any strong one, okay? That's the main thing in 2024. Her aim is to consolidate power and get all the air that Joe Biden has right now as president and take that and say, I'm the presumptive nominee. Nobody can test it. That's what she wants. She wants a 2024 primary where theoretically anybody could be the nominee, but ultimately she wants Joe Biden's support and everybody else to be like, okay, it's Kamala. Whereas you have some people that would normally be able to contest the primary, such as Andrew Cuomo, who's a strong guy, who has a lot of political power from one of the bigger states in New York, right? And he'd be able to contest her very successfully. He would probably make her go for a run for her money, right? So she doesn't want him to be powerful. Now, she didn't attack him before 2020 because they needed to beat Trump, of course. But now that he's gone, or they think he's gone, wink, they're going to throw people that they don't like under the bus. So whether that be New York's Andrew Cuomo, that'll be fine. He'll be a sacrificial lamb to the right wing because they'll say, you know what, COVID's not our fault, it's Governor Cuomo's fault, which is fucking retarded, but they're going to go for it anyway. And maybe they'll throw Whitmer off the bus. Maybe she'll get rid of Evers in Wisconsin and not help them, or put blame on them on the coronavirus by highlighting their faults instead of their own so that their administration goes through well as she consolidates power away from the governors into the federal and executive, which is her position as vice president. That's the whole point. She wants to limit the competition that's viable in 4 years so that she could be the presumptive nominee and therefore can become the next heir apparent, or at least the nominee for the Democratic president slot, okay? Nothing has to do with, oh, well, she hates Cuomo. Everybody hates Cuomo. It's a question of whether or not it's politically expeditious to attack Cuomo. And now that the election is done and dusted, it is time to get rid of Cuomo, at least to Kamala. Do I want Cuomo to go down? Yeah, he's a scumbag, but also let's recognize Kamala wants him gone. Most people want him gone. They don't want the competition, okay? Don't give the Democrats a single ounce of fucking credit for this. They're all evil. Most politicians, even Republicans, are Machiavellian. They are sociopaths. They want the presidency more than anything. And bet your ass, but Kamala does too, okay? So, again, let me wrap this up. Objectively, the media covered up for Cuomo because they wanted to hit Trump first. Now that Trump's gone, wink wink, you know they think he's done with politics, who knows. Now they're going to go after people. They're going to go after the next big story. The big story right now is Cuomo, right? And Kamala will be silent when she could very obviously help Cuomo and even subvert him behind the scenes to screw him because it's in her best interest. And it's in the best interest of virtually every other person that wants to run for president in 4 years on the Democratic side to limit the competition and get rid of New York representation. Okay? Think about it. You're running for delegates, okay, in the primary. New York has a ton of delegates. And if one candidate, as in Cuomo, gets all of them, that screws you out of like 20% of the delegates in the whole thing. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. She's disarming a lot of people. So by getting rid of Cuomo, she's probably going to get rid of the biggest opponent to her right off the jump, other than maybe Gavin Newsom, who's facing a recall and is, let's be frank, getting shit on. And is Kamala defending Newsom? Nope. So again, it's a throne of bones, I guess, or is it, King of Thrones? I don't remember the allegory, but the point is that she wants to exploit this for her own gain. That's it. No principle. Most of these Democrats don't have principle. They just want power. Simple as. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching the video. It's been a couple days. I just felt the need to record something, as well as, what do you guys think about the Google Slides as a format? I liked it. I think it's a little more formal this way. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Goodbye.